hindi maganda, sabihin sa magulang at sa bahay muna. Sa kalye, pinagkin! Best friend natin ang mask, suotin kahit saan. Ingatan ang kamay, maghugas pag galing sa labas. Sa school, pinagkin! Sa pila, wag dikit-dikit, dumistansya para iwas sakit. Laging open ang window para maganda ang airflow. 3Ps, tandaan, bakuna, bayanihan, pinagkin! Halina't magtulungan. Ikaw at ako ang pinagkin. Sa COVID di pa dadaig, sa ligtas na pagbabalik, sama-sama maging pinagkin.
Kristanos! Sakay mo ako! Kristanos!
Nasa isang kabilang ngiti, walang katulad nating kalihim. Isang araw din ay makakamtan, sa isang magsisikap lahat magaganan. Walang ibang hinahangat, wala nitong katulad na sa isang takip-silim ay araw na sisikat din. Aking bibigay ang iwakawin, ang batong panasa'y muling tatalawin. Amot naway lahat ito'y ating makakamtan. Puspos ang pagsisikap, magbubuo isang sa isang wala may munting ibig nais niyang iparinig. Pag-aalwan sa walang pangalan, ang karunungan ay siyang mas mahalaga. Walang ibang hinahangat, wala itong katulad na sa isang takip-silim ay araw na sisikat din. Aking bibigay ang iwakawin, ang bagong panasa'y muling tatalawin. Amot naway lahat ito'y ating makakamtan. Puspos ang pagsisikap, matutupad ang pangarap. Wala nang makakahalang, kahit pulos may humarang. Sipag at lakas ang ating hawak. Labis ng ating paglaban, patuloy na iharangan. Pangalan ko ay siyang matutupad, matutupad.
Halina't makinig sa akin, tamang kabanaran ang kahihinatnangin. Bubukal sa iyong isipan, tagumpay na tatahakin. Isang pangarap na lubos, landas na iyong pagtutunguhan. Pangangat na inaasam, di mapipigil ni numan. Maaabot lahat, lahat ng iyong inaasam. Kasipagan ng sabot, salat ka man sa kayamanan. Buksan ang pahina,
Piniling maliit, aming pagpawirin.
Ating tanawin,
Bagong pag-asa ay muling tatanawin.
kinabukasan pagbibayin. Pilitin mo gawin,
Pusang pagsisikap,
pag-asa ay yakapin. Eduksyon ang kayamanan ang kahit di naman. Isang pangarap ang tutupad, pagsisikapan ng lahat.
pusang pagsisikap,
Kaya mo yun, kaibigan.
mabubuo isang pangarap.
Magandang araw Pilipinas, magandang araw Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Narito po tayong mali sa panibagong edisyon ng EduAKSYON, Aksyon at Solusyon para sa Edukasyon, the DepEd Virtual Press Conference. Binabati ko po ang nag-iisang ina ng Kagawaran, Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones, kasama ang iilan sa ating mga opisyal mula sa DepEd, ating pong mga guro, magandang araw sa inyo, lahat po ng mag-aaral, mga learners at kani-kanilang mga magulang, at syempre sa lahat ng nakasubaybay at nanonood sa atin live via DepEd Philippines Facebook page. Nire-recognize din natin ang mga makakasama nating mga media partners at lahat po ng mga kasamahan natin sa press na nandito ngayon upang makapagtanong at
Recording in
makausap
progress.
si Secretary Briones at ang iba pa nating officials mula sa DepEd. Ngayong umaga ay naka-broadcast din po tayo ng live at mapapanood sa mga social media accounts at local channels ng ating mga media partners sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa. Andyan po tayo sa CLTV 36 ng Region 3, DWRB 103.9 News FM Radio Bulacan, Romblon Cable ng Mimaropa Region, Kabangkalan Community Antenna TV ng Kabangkalan City sa Region 6, Siargao TV sa Caraga Region, Consing Cable TV at DZDA FM. Bago po tayo magsimula sa ating press conference kasama ang ina ng Kagawaran, alamin muna natin ang latest updates ukol sa programs at projects ng departamento para sa ating mga learners at teachers. Makakasama po natin this morning sina Undersecretary Justado San Antonio, Director Runil Daco, Director Lopez Santos III. Kaya upang magbahagi ng kanyang updates sa school year 2021 to 2022 calendar at iba pang activities ng taong panuruan, may I call on Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction, USEC Dads San Antonio. Good morning sa iyo, USEC Dads.
Morning, Director Nina. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Tayo po ay naatasang magbahagi ng proposed school calendar for 2022-2023. Ito pong susunod na taong pasukan 2022-2023. Ang proposal po namin dahil kailangan nga mag-double time ay kailangang magkaroon ng additional period para po sa ating intervention activities and remediation. At ito pong school calendar natin, ang next slide po ay magbabahagi na it will be 215 days. Magsisimula po tayo as we are proposing August 22 at magtatapos po sa July 7, 2023. Magkakaroon po ng 215 days. Nakikita niyo po sa screen yung ating proposed calendar. Next po. Next slide po ay ito na nga po, may Christmas break din po, December 19. Magbabalik po ang mga bata January 2, 2023. Magkakaroon ng mid-year break sa February 6 hanggang 10. At yung pong end of school year rights ay sa July 10 to 14, 2023. Sa bawat grading period, magkakaroon din po ng opportunity na madagdagan yung panahon para mas matuto ang mga bata. Yung pong summer classes or enrichment advanced classes ay gagawin po sa July 17, 2023 hanggang August 26, 2023. At yung pong 23-2024 ay pinopropose po namin na August 28, 2023 matatapos. Yung pong mga ibang slides, mga detalye na lang, mga petsa, pero para po sa kaalaman ng lahat, magkakaroon nga po ng panahon para sa mga activities pagkatapos ng bawat grading period. At ang isang feature po ng ating school calendar sa darating na pasukan, blended po tayo, mas marami na rin yung face-to-face, pero po hindi tayo papayag ng mga disruptions of classes in the form of mga activities during the 10 weeks that the quarter is on. Lahat lang po turo ng turo at matututo ng matututo ang mga bata. Yung pong week 11, doon po gagawin yung exams at mga other activities that the school may wish to do. Maraming salamat po. God bless.
How can we reframe the skills and
Maraming salamat, Yusek Dads. Yun po pala, updates for calendar year 2022 to 2023, school year 2022 to 23. Thank you very much for your updates, Yusek Dados San Antonio. To proceed naman po, para naman mabigyan tayo ng mga updates naman o huling ulat ukol sa mga ginagawa nating interventions sa mga typhoon-hit schools, particular na sa Visayas Region. Kasama rin natin ngayong umaga si Director Dako mula sa Disaster Risk Reduction Management. Magandang umaga, Director Ronnie. Director Ronnie.
Yan. Magandang umaga, Director Nina. At magandang umaga rin po sa lahat sa atin, sa ating mga kasamahan, no? sa DepEd at syempre ang iba pang mga nanonood kasama ng mga magulang at mga partners siguro natin. Dito naman po sa ating tropical storm Agaton, no? Sa kasamang palad, ang aga-aga pa lang tayo ay dinalaw na po ng isang tropical storm. At medyo nakakalungkot dahil storm lang ang category niya pero malala din po ang kanyang epekto. So meron po tayong 5 regions affected, 48 divisions, 12,019 na schools and more than 4.8 million learners, no? Ang pinakamalala na naapektuhan ay ang Region 8, no? Doon sa number of schools affected, more than 4,000. At saka Region 6 na more than 3,000 po. Pagdating naman po dito sa ating mga suspension of classes, nakikita natin na meron tayong more than 10,000 schools, no? Kasi yung 11,903 dito nabawasan na doon sa Region 5 na po sila ng classes. Ito sa paggamit pa rin ng ating mga schools bilang evacuation centers, no? Current 120 classrooms being used as evacuation centers. Makikita nyo na sa Region 6, 7, and 8 po sila. Doon naman po sa mga may flooding at landslides, actually ito po yung matindi na epekto talaga ng ng tropical storm Agaton, no? Tubig po ang dinala niya. Meron tayong 21 na schools na may flooding at nakikita nyo dito karamihan sa Region 8 at nagdulot din po ito ng matinding landslides. In fact, marami tayong nabawian ng buhay, no? Mga namatay talaga dahil po sa landslide din, no? Ngayon titignan natin yung cost ng repair and reconstruction. Ang ating pong lahat ng ating repair and reconstruction cost, no, estimated at this point is 308 million. Meron din po tayong iba pang damages, yung toilets, yung ating hand washing facilities, yan. At yung pangangailangan ng TLS, yung temporary learning spaces na tinatawag natin, na pwedeng gamitin classroom, lalong-lalo po sana kung yung mga nagbalak na mag face-to-face. So meron po tayong 273 na pangangailangan. Doon naman po sa non-infrastructure damages natin, makikita natin yung school furniture, no, ang kailangan natin ay 17 million. Pag sa learning resources naman, karamihan dito, na po ito, mga SLMs na natin, self-learning modules, 41 million. No? And then doon po sa mga, naman natin, computer sets natin, no? Meron tayong 352 million. Lahat-lahat, pag pinagsuma total po natin ito, umaabot tayo sa mahigit 567 million. Meron din po tayong mga deceased na learners at karamihan dito ay nasa Region 8 po. No? Meron din po tayong mga injured, no? May personnel at may learners. Isa lang numero pero doon po talaga sa deceased talaga marami. At nasa Region 8 po ito. Sa lahat po ng mga ginagawa natin na intervention, sa kasalukuyan po ay tayo ay nagbigay ng mga advisories and getting reports from the ground currently. I think dito po natin tayo mananawagan kasi processing tayo sa kasalukuyan ng ating clean up. Pero sa totoo lang po, doon pa lang sa TYODET last year, yung ating Disaster Preparedness and Response Program na funds for response pa lang po, no, ay ubos na. No, kaya nga ang ating butihing secretary, in fact, no, si Ma'am Liling, sumulat po sa DBM, no, dated 28 March nitong 2022, requesting for actually an additional funds para sa response natin. Kasama na po dito sa nire-request ang para doon sa Taal, no, nag-alert level 3, very recent. At dito sa meron nga tayo ngayon sa TD Agaton or TS Agaton. No? Ang hinihingi natin ay 520 million. Para po masagot natin yung mga temporary learning spaces na pangangailangan at doon pa sa mga nasira na mga pwedeng i-minor repair. Kasi yung QRF naman po natin, Quick Response Fund, 2022 natin po ay sa TYODET bumabagsak na 16 billion ang kailangan. But we only have annually 2 billion. So ngayon, ang gagawin natin ay hihingi din po natin ang mga salanta na ito, kasama ng UDET, kasama ng Agaton, ng yung tinatawag na National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund. So isasubmit natin to for funding. But we're hoping that DBM will of course heed the letter of our dear Secretary and provide us the necessary funds para sa mga napektuhan ng tropical storm Agaton. I think that's all, Director Nina. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat. Thank you, Director Ronnie, sa inyong napakahalagang report at napapanahong report. We are praying for everyone's safety, lalo na sa ating mga ka-DepEd sa Visayas Region. Thank you very much. Ngayon naman, narito din si Director Lopez Santos III mula sa Bureau of Learner Support Service para bigyan naman tayo ng update ukol sa school-based feeding program na patuloy nating isinasagawa sa Kagawaran kahit na may pandemya man. Director Lopez?
Yeah, good morning, Director Nina. Binabati ko po ang lahat ng ating mga kasama ngayong umaga. At bumabati rin tayo sa ating kagalang-galang Kalihim Leonor Magtolis Briones, sa ating mga undersecretaries at director na kasama. Kinagagala ko po na magbigay ng update tungkol sa ating school-based teaching program. Meron po tayong inihan na PowerPoint at ito pong status ng ating implementation as of March 2022. Next slide. Pwede na po sa next slide. So ito lamang po yung description para dun sa hindi pa masyadong familiar dun sa ating school-based feeding program. Ito po yung pagbibigay ng mga hot meals at ngayon ay nutritious food product. At ang layunin po ng ating programa is to address hunger and encourage learners to enroll and sustain school participation, contribute to the improvement of nutritional status of learners, provide nourishment for their growth and development, and help boost immune system, as well as enhance and improve health and nutrition values and behavior of our learners. So yan ho yung mga layunin ng ating school-based feeding program. Next slide. Ito po yung mga target beneficiaries natin. Lahat po ng kindergarten ay covered po ng ating programa. Yung grade 1 to grade 6 learners who are wasted and severely wasted, ito po ay batay dun sa ulat ng 2021-2022 report ng SBFP. At meron din tayong mga secondary beneficiaries. Kung natapos na natin primary beneficiaries, ito po yung mga second priority natin, yung all learners in last mile schools with 100 and below enrollees, yung mga pupils at risk dropping out. Nawala yata. Nawala yung slide natin. Nawala yata yung ating PowerPoint.
Yes, Director Lope, no, we apologize for our technical difficulties. I know nasa Cebu ata si Director Lope eh.
Yeah, oo. Actually, kasama natin dito ang mga regional and school division offices sa buong Visayas Region at nagko-conduct tayo ng national conference on school-based feeding program. Ito yung unang cluster natin, and we are doing this in all regions. And then ito po yung mga indigenous people learners and those coming from indigent families and stunted learners identified in the school year 2019-2020. Ito yung mga beneficiaries. Para lang background natin, sino ba yung mga beneficiary ng ating programa. Next slide. Yan. In terms of feeding days naman po, ordinarily yung feeding days dapat ay 120 days. Kaya lang nung nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic para ma-implement natin within the fiscal year, ito po ay nireduce natin ng 60 days. At ngayong 2022, ipapaliwanag ko mamaya, dahil bumaba yung ating budget allocation, ang ating feeding days ay 33 days. No? Yan po yung ating situation ngayon ng feeding days. At yung, in terms of commodity, ito po ay hot meals, merong nagsiserve ng hot meals or nutritious food products or combination of both. And of course, milk. Yung delivery po natin ay may modification din because of
Director Lope, parang napuputol ata, nawawala ng signal si Director Lope. Director Lope? Baka siguro maaaring balikan natin ang ulat ni Director Lope maya-maya lamang po. I understand.
Ito na, Director Nina, no? Hindi na lang ako medyo... Okay, next slide. Ayan, ito yung legal basis. Medyo balikan po natin. Yung school-based feeding program natin ay institutionalized school. Ito yung masustansyang pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act. At ito naman ay ino-operationalize natin sa guidelines on the implementation of the SBFP. Meron ho tayong Department Order number 31, Series of 2021, at meron tayong Department Order number 10, Series of 2022. Ito yung mga supplemental guidelines po ng DepEd Order para sa implementasyon ng nutritious food product at saka ng milk. Next slide. Ito po yung status at i-report namin sa inyo yung programa ng SBFP. Noong 2020 po, yan ho ay 100% completed na yung ating nutritious food product na nagkaroon tayo ng 3.5 million beneficiaries. Yung 2021 natin na nutritious food product ay 2021 ay meron pa po tayong ini-implement sa ngayon, pero kung kumpleto na po yung 60%, meron pa tayong ongoing na 34% at 8.8% na lang yung for delivery. Doon naman po sa gatas ay 96% na yung completion ng ating 2020 at 39% yung completion ng ating 2021 budget. Yung 2022 nakapula pa po yan kasi ongoing pa po yung ating procurement at yan po yung subject for discussion pa natin with our partners, but it is expected to be implemented starting April. Next slide. Yan. Ito po yung trend, no? Nung kung mapapansin po ninyo ay yan ho yung graphical presentation ng number of beneficiaries ng 2020, 2021, and 2022. Kung mapansin po ninyo, lumaki po yung binibigyan natin ng milk at pati yung budget ay lumaki din po yung budget ng milk, no? From 1.5 billion po yung milk nung 2020 naging 2 billion ng 2021 at ngayon 2022 ay mayroon pa uling allocation ng 1 billion. Ang dahilan po niyan, yun yung ating total budget ng school-based feeding program ay bumaba from 6 billion last year at ngayon po ay 3.3 billion. Next slide. Ito po yung sample. No? Gusto namin ipakita sa inyo kung sino ba yung mga supplier natin. No? Ang mga supplier po natin ay yung mga e-Nutriban adapters at yan ho yung kanilang contract amount sa atin. Yung mga farmer groups po, mga cooperatives, small and medium enterprises, and other private enterprises. So ito po yung mga partner natin. Karamihan po ay mga technology adapters na inaccredit ng Food and Nutrition Research Institute. Ang mga farmer groups at kooperatiba na accredited po ng ating Department of Agriculture, DSWD, at saka NIA at DAR. At yun ang mga small and medium enterprises natin ay katulong din natin na nagsusupply ng nutritious food products sa ating programa. Next slide. Ito naman po yung nagbibigay sa atin ng supply ng milk o ng gatas. Sample po nito yung 2021, ang allocation po ng ating NDA at saka ng PCC. Ito po yung mga kooperatiba at mga organisasyon na nag-partner at NDA. No? Ang nanggagaling po sa PCC ay 32%, ang NDA ay 47%, at yung commercial milk po ay only 17.6%. Yan po yung 2021 natin. So nakikinabang po sa ating programa ay ang mga kapartner ng NDA at PCC pagdating sa usapin ng supply ng gatas. Next slide po. Nais namin kayong bigyan ano na yung status ng implementation ng for 2022. Natapos na po natin yung operational guidelines. Meron na ho tayong memorandum of agreement uli with NDA at yung with PCC at yung pong sa NDA ay for signing pa ng ating mga kalihim at ngayon po ay nagkaroon na tayo ng supply mapping. Katatapos lang po ng ating first batch ng supply mapping at na-identify na natin ano yung mga supplies na kailangan natin. Next slide. In terms of funds, yun yung ating budget ay na-download na po natin sa ating mga schools division offices at ready na sila na mag-procure ulit after no completion ng ating supply mapping. Nagawa na po natin ito. Meron na tayong initial at yung procurement process po ng mga division offices natin na na-fix na yung ating supply ng nutritious food product at ng milk na identify na natin who can immediately supply ay ongoing na po yung process of procurement. Next slide. In-expect po natin na yung actual feeding natin ay mangyari na within April to June 2022. At para po matapos na ating programa at madugtungan natin yung ipinapakain natin doon sa mga learners natin yung school year 2021-2022. So ngayon ay meron tayong ongoing National War Conference at first batch namin dito sa Cebu ngayon covering Visayas Regions at yung mga susunod na linggo ay i-cover naman namin yung lahat pa ng mga regions para i-finalize at i-discuss po yung mga issues and concerns na kinakaharap natin pagdating sa implementasyon ng ating programa. Next slide. Ayun po yung dinownload natin na budget no sa ngayon na-download na po natin yan for both milk and FP at hinihintay na lamang natin yung mga iba pang memorandum of agreement na mapirmahan. At particularly yung sa NDA po, but PCC na pirmahan na po. Next slide. Ito po ay importante, ito po ay partial lamang at hindi pa ito final. No? Ang target beneficiaries po natin ay in-expect ulit natin yung 3.4 million at ang partialist nung last school year ay almost similar din. No? At ang number of schools na susuportahan po natin ito ay 35,174 elementary schools covering kinder to grade 6. Next slide. Ito naman po yung breakdown nung target beneficiaries na initial result po ng ating milk supply mapping. No? Ang batay po sa ating mapping ngayon, ang maaaring isupply ng NDA, PCC combined ay mga around 60% at meron pa tayong balance na 41% at yan ay mag-undergo pa po ng second round of mapping together the partners of PCC and NDA at nakipag-usap na po kami sa Philippine Carabao Center at sa National Dairy Authority upang yung 40% na yan hanggat maaari ay manggaling ang supply sa ating local dairy industry. But yung ating experience for the last 2 years, ang maximum na naisupply po ng ating local dairy industry ay 80%. Around 80%. So yan ho yung result ng initial mapping sa ating milk. Next slide. Ito naman po yung initial result ng supply mapping natin ng nutritious food product. No? Ang in-expect po natin na maging beneficiaries ngayon ay 2.1 million but tuloy-tuloy pa po yung supply yung ating mapping at maaaring tumaas pa ang number of beneficiaries na to at ang target naman nating schools na bigyan nito ay 34,375 elementary schools. Next slide. Kung matatanong po ninyo saan nanggagaling ang ating manggagaling ang ating mga supplies ng pagkain, ito po ay nanggagaling sa DOST FNRI Technology Adapters, mga kapartners ng Philippine Carabao Center, yung kanilang Milky Ban, yung Department of Agrarian Reform, mga partner po ng Department of Agriculture, ng DSWD at ng National Irrigation Administration. So hinanap po natin ang mga possible suppliers na ating mga farmers at nang sa gayon ay ang ating mga magsasaka ang nakikinabang na nagsusupply ng pagkain para sa ating school-based feeding program. We are also giving priority to our local food producers. Next slide. Meron po tayong some issues and concerns, and we would like to share this, particularly yung recent na sulat po sa atin mula sa Dairy Confederation of the Philippines at saka Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food. No? Ito po ay na-publish sa ilang social media account at may nagsasabi po ng National Dairy Authority and Philippine Carabao Center ay hinihinga natin ng certification na ang local dairy farmers cannot supply the milk, and we are allowing entry of foreign multinational dairy companies and dislodging the local dairy farmers. No? Ito po ay walang katotohanan sapagkat ang Department of Education po ay sinisigurado na ang binibigyan natin ng prioridad ay ang ating local dairy industry, local dairy farmers, at ito po ay naaayon sa Republic Act 11037 o yung masustansyang pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act. At ito po ay operationalized dun sa ating DepEd order. Malinaw na malinaw po yung guidelines na pinirmahan ni Secretary Briones that schools division offices that are either not covered or are insufficiently covered under the final source supply map jointly prepared and approved by the NDA and the Philippine Carabao Center and DepEd may be allowed to procure commercial powdered sterilized milk subject to the following prerequisite. Number 1, certification. So kung walang certification from NDA and PCC, hindi po tayo makakapag-procure. Justification by the SDO that it is no longer practicable to source the milk supply from local dairy cooperative despite best efforts and utmost prudence. Actually po, itinali natin ang kamay ng ating mga schools division offices sa local supply ng gatas, at ito ay bago tayo makabili ng commercial milk ay kailangan pa natin ng certification from NDA at PCC na talagang walang available na milk supply. So hindi ho tayo nakikipag-usap sa mga multinational dairy companies, at ang pumipili sa ngayon ng kapartner natin na supplier ng milk ang NDA at PCC. Yan po ay nilalaman ng ating memorandum of agreement with the two partner agencies. Next slide. Yun naman ho sinasabi nila na yung decision po ng DepEd na implement yung milk feeding component ng SBFP from April to June will diminish and minimize the participation of the local dairy industries and exclude or eliminate the local dairy farmers. Ang katotohanan po nito, because of our supply mapping process, ang participation ng ating mga kapartner, which is also provided by law, ay integrated po dun sa ating mechanism. So before our schools division offices procure milk or identify their supplier, nagkakaroon po ng dialogue, ng supply mapping ang NDA and PCC. At kung sino lang yung hindi kayang supplyan ng ating mga kapartner, doon lang yung alternative na pwede tayong bumili. So highly participatory po ang approach ng school-based feeding program to tap our farmer organizations and cooperative as well as the small and medium enterprises.
Recording stopped.
Next slide. Bakit po kailangan nating hanggat maaari ay pilitin sana nating matapos ang ating programa ng April to June? Sapagkat ang kasalukuyang school year po ay matatapos ng June at ang ating ang target beneficiaries ay within the school year 2021-2022. 2022. Kung kaya pinipilit sana natin na matapos at maisupply yung lahat ng pagkain at gatas hanggang June para pagpasok ng susunod na school year, batay doon sa ipinaliwanag kanina ni Yusek San Antonio na bagong school calendar, ay mag-i-start tayo ng panibagong set of beneficiaries. And we also have to balance yung achieving the goals of SBFP, such as sustaining the feeding within the school year, achieve optimal nutrition impact among our learners, and fulfilling our administrative demands for the program, such as achieving budget utilization rate targets, complying with the directives from the Commission on Audit. Ang ating pong programa ay subject din sa Commission on Audit at meron po tayong mga circulars at kung meron tayong delays sa implementation ay nakakatanggap din tayo ng warning from the Commission on Audit. Kaya importante po na mai-implement natin yung ating programa within the defined and desired project timeline. Next slide. Dalawa na lang po ito. Ito na lang po yung ating appeal, no? With the big investments for our milk feeding, we hope that our local dairy industry, together with the government agencies, will respond to the challenges of our program implementation, including satisfying volume of production, product quality and certification, packaging, business processes, and government procurement. Ang SBF po ay may implementation timeline at ang fund validity natin ay based on the provisions of General Appropriation Act. And of course, we cannot delay the needed milk for nutrition of our learners. And we fully understand the plight of our local dairy industry, and we are thanking them for their efforts in producing and supplying milk for SBFP, and we are committed to continue partnering with them despite the challenges we are facing. We understand because of our school-based feeding program, we provided our partners with a solid market base, and they also improved their processing facility. They add personnel, they created additional employment, at nakatulong po tayo, nakatulong din sila sa pag-unlad ng ating agrikultura at food processing industry. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Director Lopez Santos III. Tamang-tama pala ang report ni Director Lopez dahil siya ay nasa Cebu at may conference ukol sa ating school-based feeding program. Thank you very much. Sa punto namang ito, pag-usapan naman natin ang updates ukol sa National Quality Management System na pinapatupad sa Department of Education. Kung nabalitaan niyo po ay ang Central Office kasama ang ating mga pilot offices ay nairekomenda for ISO certification, ISO 9001-2015 certification. Sa mga hindi po nakakaalam, yung ISO certification po natin certifies that a management system, a service, a procedure has all the requirements for standardization and quality assurance that help organizations ensure that they are able to meet customer and stakeholder needs. Kaya being the largest bureaucracy in the country, DepEd considers this as a major milestone. Kaya naman po, para ibahagi sa inyo ang ating good news, narito po ang aking ulat ukol sa National Quality Management System. Okay, so eto na po, the Department of Education National Quality Management System, tinatawag po natin yung 1 DepEd, 1 QMS. If you can see po on our second slide, this slide shows the overall composition and scope of our agency. Dito po sa DepEd, makikita nyo the vastness of the agency, gaya ng sinabi natin kanina. It could be, I think it's the largest bureaucracy in the country. So we can see in this slide how the dynamics of the different offices should be taken into consideration when dealing with processes and services to ensure yung standardization po natin across all our different governance levels. Makikita niyo po, we have over 1 million plantilla positions sa central office po, and then we have 17 regional offices, 226 schools division offices, and almost 50,000 public schools. Gaya nga po ng sinabi ni Secretary in our press release that this really marks a historical milestone in ensuring the consistent delivery of quality service and fostering continuous improvement to sustain our goal to serve our Filipino learners. In the next slide, makikita po natin that our 4 governance levels were equally represented sa ating NQMS audit. So ito po yung binanggit ko kanina that we have pilot offices. So syempre, andyan po ang central office, and then we have Region 4A Calabar Zone to represent our regional offices, and then SDO Binyan to represent the division offices. And then naandyan po ang Binyan Elementary School for elementary schools at ang Binyan Integrated National High School for the high schools. So ito po ang naging pilot offices that underwent our evaluation or our audit. In the next slide, we can see some pictures naman of the actual external audit. So TUV Nord Philippines Incorporated, one of actually the Philippines and the world's largest inspection and certification testing organization, conducted our external audit. We partnered with them. We had 2 stages of the audit. The first stage was a document review, and the second stage that we underwent was the actual audit, which there were interviews that were conducted, and they visited the different sites, central office and our pilot offices. So as you can see, the succeeding slides will show you the audit that was done in the NQMS pilot offices to verify that our NQMS or our QMS is truly established in the department. So for the first picture, ito po yung sa top management natin, the interview that was conducted with our executive committee, kasama po dyan ating mga ASEC, mga USECs. And then on the next photo, that is in the central office, an example of an external audit that was conducted in one of the bureaus. So 18 bureaus and services were also audited in the central office. The next slide will show you Region 4A. Dyan po yan sa Calabar Zone Regional Office and Schools Division Office of Binyan City naman yung sumunod. Next is we have Binyan Elementary School and the Binyan Integrated National High School external audits. And after the external audits were conducted, next slide will show you that we are truly proud to say that after the audit, we were immediately informed of the results last April 8th at the closing meeting that the agency was recommended for the certification with no nonconformities, be it minor or major nonconformities. Wala pong nakitang nonconformities sa department. So truly a historic feat for a government agency with 4 governance levels, no? That all these governance levels are aligned with the processes, and we are truly deserving of the ISO certification. So that is the audit decision last April 8th. So moving forward, what do we plan to do with the certification? Next slide, we are showing here. Next slide, please. Next slide will show you, this is actually Department DepEd Memorandum number 78, series of 2021. This was released in November last year. This shows you the plan for QMS expansion and ISO certification across all our field offices. Kasama po dyan ang region, schools division office, and up to our schools level. So for the timeline, in 2022, we were already able to achieve the certification for the pilot offices, including the central office. In 2022, we plan to do the same as well for our regional offices. In 2023 naman for our SDOs, and 2025, 1 ISO certification for our schools. So nakita nyo po in this indicative timeline for 2022 to 2023, we were already able to achieve yung phase 2 natin, which is March to April. Tapos for May naman, on the second week of May, there will be a management review for the NQMS pilot offices. May 5 to 6 is an initial quality performance assessment for our regional offices. And then on June, sa second week, the issuance of the ISO certificate for the pilot offices. So we're waiting and we're really anticipating the awarding of our ISO certification sometime in June. And at the same time, we'll also try to do our harmonization of the National Quality Management System for our ROs. Now, the series of QMS harmonization workshops for our regional offices shall be done with the help of the Development Academy of the Philippines, or DAP, as this is part of the grant that we receive through their government quality management program. And then July to October, yun na nga po yung series of harmonization workshops. November 14 to 18, the readiness assessment of our regional offices. And by December to February 2023, preparation now for the ISO certification of the regional offices. And March 2023 is the surveillance audit of the DepEd and QMS pilot offices. So babalikan po natin muli as for the indicative timeline for the National Quality Management System. Yan. So we'd like to say thank you very much, and those were the updates on the NQMS 1 DepEd 1 QMS. Muli po, no, muli kami nagpapasalamat sa lahat po ng nakiisa at sumuporta upang makamit natin ang recommendation for ISO certification. So on behalf of the Office of the Undersecretary for Human Resource and Organizational Development, kasama na rin po ang Bureau of Human Resource and Organizational Development, aming pong taus-pusong pasasalamat. Mula po sa good news, ipagpatuloy na natin ang ating good vibes. Sa punto pong ito, panoorin natin ang isang pangarap music video regional entry ng SDO Oriental Mindoro. Sila po ay nagkamit ng 3rd place sa isang pangarap music video contest na ginanap sa Information Leaders Awards 2021. Kaya keep your eyes on the screen and let's watch this. Indeed, deserving na deserving sa inyong
Recording in
napanalunan
progress.
sa Information Leaders Awards 2021. Congratulations sa STO Oriental Mindoro. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagbibigay sa amin ng aliw sa gitna ng seryoso at mahalagang paksa at usapin. Ngayon naman, bago tayo magsimula sa ating talakayan kasama ang ating mga media partners, atin munang pakinggan ang mensahe mula sa ina ng Kagawaran na siyang nangunguna sa pagtataguyod ng kalidad na edukasyon sa bansa. Magandang araw po, Kalihim Leonor Magtolis Briones.
Magandang araw, Director Nina. Magandang araw sa lahat na bahagi, mga miyembro, mga participants sa Department of Education. Magandang araw sa media, friends natin, sa parents at saka buong komunidad ng Pilipinas na nagsusuporta, nag-i-interest sa edukasyon ng ating kabataan. As usual, hindi na ako magbigay ng mensahe dahil ang mensahe ng DepEd na articulate na ng ating mga opisyal. Today, ang aming focus ay sa mga activities ng DepEd na maliban sa ating concern. Siyempre, ang pinagdidebatehan palagi ay yung face-to-face o yung face-to-face as part of blended learning. Pero marami ding activities, maraming ginagawa, mga supportive actions and programs and projects ang DepEd na nag-i-enhance at nag-i-enrich itong ating policy of blended learning. And na-discuss na ito ng ating mga undersecretaries, ang ating directors. Gusto ko lang ulitin kasi may mga mahalagang polisiya tayo, may mga mahalagang decision tayo na kailangang ulit-ulitin para hindi makalimutan ng ating mga supporters at ng lahat na nag-i-interest sa edukasyon. Una, sinasabi na namin sa ilang press conferences natin na hindi required na vaccinated ang mga bata. Maliwanag yang ni-repeat natin yan dahil yan ay unconstitutional. Wala naman sa Constitution nagsasabi doon na kailangan magpabakuna ang mga bata bago sila bigyan ng sapat na edukasyon. So, and also, ulitin ko ito, ang advice ng ating mga health experts ay inuulit-ulit din nila na yung mga bata mataas ang resistensya sa COVID-19. Pero ang importante, gusto nating ma-reach, gusto nating mabigyan ng pagkakataon ang lahat nating mga learners na magkaroon ng quality education. Ayon ang hinihingi ng ating konstitusyon. Pero required na fully vaccinated ang ating mga teachers, ang ating mga adults. Dahil as I said, relatively mas nai-expose sila kaysa ating mga bata. At sinasabi ko na kanina na yung ating mga bata ay mataas ang kanilang resistensya sa iba't ibang klase na COVID-19. No? Ngayon sa ating policy na rin-require natin na mag-report ang ating teachers, depende yan sa classification. Ulitin ko ito, kung ang isang rehiyon o isang lugar ay assessed ng Department of Health na level 1, may desisyon ang IATF, may desisyon din ang Executive Secretary na i-require ang lahat ng mga empleyado na mag-report 100%. Kasi alam natin ito, na-recognize natin ito, na mayroong epekto din yung ating work at home policy, especially at this time on the volume of work on delivery of services. Ako feel ko ito dahil at the end of the day, yung mga mahalagang desisyon mga polisiya, mga desisyon hinggil sa ating personnel, hinggil sa ating eskwelahan, sa ating teachers, etc. Sa umaabot naman sa Secretary of Education. At mas magiging efficient ito kung nadidiscuss ito at the lower levels at mas mabilis ang daloy ng mga papeles, lalo na ang paperwork at services. At saka yung ating mga financial obligations, kailangan maasikaso yan and it should be timely. At nakakatulong ng ating mga teachers, mag-a-attend din sila ng webinars, nag-meeting din sila tungkol sa pag-implement ng curriculum. At alam naman natin na ang teacher hindi lamang nagtuturo. Ang teacher naman ay nakikiusap din, nakiki-meeting, nakikidiscuss, nakikidebate hinggil sa mga polisiya ng Department of Education. Pero ang importante, ini-implement natin ang desisyon ng IATF at ang instructions ng Executive Secretary na kung level 1 ng isang rehiyon ay obligado ang ating mga empleyado na mag-report sila 100% para tuloy-tuloy ang daloy ng ating trabaho. Also, gusto natin pabilisan ang pag-implement ng face-to-face component ng ating blended learning approach. I would like also to emphasize, sinabi ko na ito sa ilang press conferences, ibig sabihin na kung mag-face-to-face tayo, bibitiwan na natin ang online, bitiwan natin ang ibang approaches sa pagtuturo. Hindi. Ang blended learning ay blend ng iba't ibang paraan sa pagtuturo, pag-i-enhance ng learning ng isang bata na hindi lamang sa face-to-face, kundi sa ibang paraan din. Kaya ang blended learning tries to blend the different approaches depending on the situation. And this is why the risk assessment of the Department of Health is very important to us. Equally important, sorry na lang sa nakakaalam ng polisiya na ito, pero kailangan ulit-ulitin dahil hanggang ngayon, mayroon pa rin lumalabas sa media na rini-require natin ang mga bata na kailangan fully vaccinated, etc. Kailangan ding ipaliwanag kung bakit beneficial ang pag-report ng ating mga teachers sa schools kung sila ay classified as level 1 or 2. No? So, iulit-ulitin ko lang yon. No? Mga bata, no prohibition. But we are campaigning kasi it is for their protection and it will also assuage the concerns of parents who agreed to have their children vaccinated, that they will not run the risk of being exposed to infections. Now, also, discuss na yung ating school calendar. Again, ilang ulit na ito. May related question about graduation or end of term or end of year rituals. Kung tayo ay nasa face-to-face level sa isang lugar, there is no reason why we should not have graduation rights, but in accordance once more of the policies of the Department of Health and the advice of the Department of Health. So, mami-minimize natin ang risk. I'd also like to congratulate the singing group which represented the DepEd. We are trying, if you will listen to and take note of the wordings, we talk about isang pangarap. Pero yung isang pangarap para sa edukasyon, para sa lahat, gusto nating magiging katotohanan. Finally, as a Department of Education, we would like to extend our deepest condolences to the family of the late Dr. Erlinda C. Pifianco, former Secretary of Education, Undersecretary of Education before that, 12 years as director of the Simeo Inotech Center, which is managed and run by the Department of Education for the entire Southeast Asian region. And I am very sad because Dr. Pifianco not only was your usual Undersecretary of Education, she started the culture of long-term planning in education. It was during her term as Undersecretary to then Secretary Armand Fabella, that planning as a major component, not planning within a political framework, but planning in terms of what the future will be, was instituted. And I also am very sad because at this time, we will be debating and conversing, especially with the legislature, on the Education Commission, which was also created during the time of Secretary Pifianco. And I believe, and those of you, I'm sure, many of our colleagues in education are familiar with the biography of former Secretary Armand Fabella. Dr. Pifianco was quoted, and she had many statements which I think would be very valuable and useful to the legislature right now as it considers matters related to the Education Commission. There are several, not just several, but many pages in that book reflect not only the opinions of Secretary Fabella, but also the views, the report of Dr. Pifianco, Secretary Pifianco, since she became Secretary of Education soon after the demise of Armand Fabella. So I'm very sad because she would have been very valuable, and she could have given wise advice and observations, especially as it relates to the debates on the Education Commission and trifocalization of education. And for those who have not read the book, I would advise you to read this book, which quotes Dr. Pifianco extensively. Also, I'd like to acknowledge her contributions as director of Simeo Inotech. She was director for 12 years, and she held it with distinction before she retired to a private institution. So with this, we also like to express our deepest condolences to the Department of Foreign Affairs on the loss of their ambassador. Last time I met him, he was ambassador to China, Chito Santoromana. We were more or less colleagues, although of course I was older. At the time when I was very involved in the youth movement, he was the chair of the student government of De La Salle University, and he was a very active member. And his experience as a youth leader, his experience during the days of very difficult times, Chito Santoromana contributed very much. He learned so much, and he, as I said, he progressed in his profession as ambassador to China after being a youth leader. This leads me to our emphasis and our interest right now in developing youth leadership as well, the formation of our youth beyond the curriculum, beyond what the textbooks say, and beyond the usual thinking of future in terms of 6 years, but future in terms of maybe 30, 50 years, what the world will be like. And that is where most of our thoughts are now focused on futures, or what we call education futures. So on this note, I'd like already to listen and respond as much as we can to the questions of media and all who are interested in raising issues with the department, and our officials are also ready and prepared to give you, well, as they say, to say the truth and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones. Now, at this point, we are ready to begin our question and answer. But in order to properly engage with the Secretary and our officials, we would just like to request our media partners to please turn on, of course, your microphones and your cameras when asking your questions. At kung maaari po lamang ay maximum of 2 questions para mabigyan po ang lahat ng pagkakataon na makapagtanong. And other questions that we are unable to answer at this forum, we will be referring them to the concerned offices, and we shall be sending our responses via Viber. All right, so to begin our press conference, for the first question, or this is actually a question that is shared by Ms. Jane Bautista of the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Ms. Jewa Bernardo of ABS-CBN. Secretary, for this question, I will be reading it. And the question is, considering that the end of the school year is just 2 months away, may we ask DepEd's comment on the call to suspend the mandatory on-site reporting of teachers? Hindi raw po kasi sapat ang internet sa schools for online classes, and ay maayos naman daw silang work set up from their homes.
I touched on that question briefly, but we also have Undersecretary Dads who can assist in explaining our policy on this issue. I've stated that it is a requirement of the IATF for regions and sites where the classification already is at level 1 and 2. So physical reporting is required. It's true that we are not giving up on online either. I would like to emphasize that we are not giving up on the other approaches to learning, but at the same time we want to complement face-to-face with these other approaches. And also, other than the teaching, the Department of Education is part of the administrative system of the Philippine government. We have to take care of salaries. We have to declare policies and circulars and new developments. And we have to continuously upgrade, continuously enrich the capacities of our teachers. And we would be holding seminars, meetings, and we all know that teaching is always complemented by other activities. We all know and we recognize that not all wisdom necessarily comes exclusively from the teacher. And we also know that even as we are implementing face-to-face, there are places, not the fault of Department of Education, where we have problems and challenges in online communication and so on. And so we would like, as a part of the government system of the Philippines to comply with IATF regulations and to comply with the instructions of the Executive Secretary, of which we are a part, and also to restore as quickly, as efficiently as possible the administrative systems and processes and procedures that are necessary for a public institution and which call for the participation and the contribution of the teachers. So, Yusek, that's perhaps you can further explain our policy on this matter.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Liling. Yes po, yung pong pulisiya ay sinasabi naman po talaga na ang official station ng ating mga kasamang guro ay ang mga paaralan. At dahil nga po dyan ay sinasabi rin natin na pag nasa alert level 1 na yung lugar ay dapat nasa paaralan. Naunawaan po natin na may mga issues sa internet connectivity sa mga paaralan. Ang pagkakaunawa ko naman po, ginagawaan ng paraan ng mga kasamang namumuno natin na masiguro na ang internet po ay maging available sa lahat ng mga kasamang guro. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Secretary. And yes, Secretary.
I recall that during the past 2 years, we were very dependent on online and non-face-to-face methods in transmitting learning. And the demand was very, very loud and very, very noisy. We want face-to-face. We want the teachers to have their face-to-face consultations, etc. And this is exactly what we are doing. We are combining online, other forms of learning with physical presence of our teachers so we can thresh out policies, solve problems, comply with the usual requirements, records, computations of grades, clarifications of policies of the department, and most important, implement decisions of the national government, of which we are the largest institution, the largest component of this public administration system in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary. And just siguro to echo what the Secretary has been saying about being part of the government and ensuring that we are compliant, as well as I think we acknowledge that there are challenges and that there may be some concerns in the implementation, especially of the concerned DM that's being talked about, yung DM 29 po natin, But I think we see this also as a great opportunity so that our offices, our schools can work on what we lack and what we need to improve on. So the department wishes that all our governance levels can work hand in hand naman this time in finding solutions and ways and means to be able to address these roadblocks, so we can coordinate with our ICTS in terms of internet connection, our admin and finance strands. I believe kasi if we don't deal with this, if we don't deal with the situation now, we will still have to face the problem of internet connectivity tomorrow, the day after that, and so on. So I think this is a good chance and a good period for us to be able to develop and build up as we also prepare ourselves for the incoming school year. So ayun po, that's on the perspective naman from the Bureau of Human Resource and Organizational Development. So thank you very much for that question. And Secretary, if you will allow us to proceed, for the next question, I will be calling in Mr. Bons Magsambol of Rappler.
Ayun. Okay. Right. Okay. Ayan. Good morning, Secretary, and then good morning to the rest of the DepEd staff. I have 2 questions. My first question is, for the past week, clips from the reality show PBB about supposed quiz bee among teen housemates went viral online for not being able to answer simple history lessons or history questions. This has spurred calls to bring back history classes in basic education. How is the DepEd addressing this issue, and what is the DepEd reaction on the supposed learning crisis that we are facing?
First of all, we have to emphasize that this Department of Education has been formulating and implementing policy for the past nearly 6 years. And you will notice, especially not only in contests, but also in all the international assessments, that these are 15 to 17-year-old kids. And so they're covered by curricula, which we have faithfully implemented. And all the other, I'm just saying that if you count the years where the learners have been under our direct tutelage probably would be at the most grade 4 or grade 6. So just to point that out, because of course we say education is in a crisis, therefore this administration is to blame. But we have faithfully implemented the curriculum, although we made adjustments because of the onset of the pandemic. And we have supported such curricula, and we made adjustments as much as we could. All that we did, Bones, was to make a very difficult decision to participate not only in national assessments. Now you talk about contests, probably that's part of the assessments that we have to look at. And that I would like to clarify that, because we tend to forget that education policy is a result of policies under the leadership of maybe 47 to 48 secretaries of education. The decision to join, for example, in PISA, in international assessments, of course, you know that was a decision made by this, not necessarily under our tutelage. We did our best to remain faithful to the curriculum that was which was started by my predecessors, and we supported it. I'm just mentioning that as a matter for thinking, because the tendency is always to finger point. Now, what have we done? What have we done? We have seen to it that the curriculum reflects not only, because we are not only interested in the history of the Philippines, the culture of the Philippines, and I would be the last person who can be accused of not placing importance on history, on culture, on literature, and on recognition not only of national heroes, but regional heroes as well. And you will also notice that since you are a faithful attendee in all our press conferences. For example, on the 27th, we are going to actively participate in the celebration of the victory of Mactan. All our children are taught about the discovery of the Philippines by Magellan on March 16, 15, 21. Until now, I have not forgotten that date. But we have to remember that on April 27, 15, 21, we were able to attain a stunning victory over the conquerors. And that has to be remembered. We have developed new songs to integrate what we feel, not just in the curriculum. And as you yourself know, since you have been monitoring us faithfully, it will take time to bring about what you and I dream about. Kaya sinasabi ko, we sing about isang pangarap, the kind of pangarap, the kind of education we want, but it will not be achieved in 6 years' time, especially after, as I said, education which goes back to the time of the Americans. Our children knew about Washington and the cherry tree more than, or Abraham Lincoln, more than perhaps our own national heroes. Who has heard, for example, of Leon Kilat, a hero of Negros? Who has heard of many of the heroes in the Visayas and Mindanao? And we are encouraging this, but we cannot do it in just 6 years and have all the finger pointing directed at one particular administration. I respect my predecessors. I'm carrying on the curriculum which was proposed to us. We had to make adjustments because of COVID. And you ask me now, what are we trying to do about these questions that come up out in contests? These questions are only one indicator. Another indicator are international assessments, bombs. Other indicators would be the national achievement tests. And we have noticed that there is a correlation between the results of national achievement tests and the international assessment tests. That is why we had to make the very tough decision, knowing that we will be excoriated for what we knew was going to be the result. Because education, look at me, Bones. I like to look at the people I talk to as a teacher. And we all know that educational reforms cannot be changed. 30 years ago, at the height of the debate on the debt crisis, I already said that in 30 to 50 years' time, we will see the impact of the policy which gives preference over the payment of debt to education and health and social development. And my views are a matter of record. What I said is happening right now. Now, to your important question, what are we doing? We are doing as much as we can. If the subjects that you are interested in, like who is Gregorio del Pilar, which is very, very important since he is a favorite hero of my own also favorite hero, is to start somewhere. Who are the heroes in the Visayas? Who are the heroes in Mindanao? Who is, as I said, who is Leon Kilat? Who is Daguhoy? And all this. And why do we have Sultan Kudarat? Who is he in the first place? And so you ask what we are doing. We're doing all that we can, including the last 2 remaining months that are left to us and our administration. What we did was to adjust the curriculum because we knew we had catching up to do. Catching up to do not only in history, which is reflected in the tests, and I have also watched contests in other countries, particularly our adored United States. And I also noticed the kind of answers that contestants give. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that we are doing all we can after 47 secretaries of education and my 7 immediate predecessors, secretaries of education as well. Thank you, Bons.
Okay,
And thank you
po.
for your presence.
Thank you,
Okay.
Secretary. And just before we proceed, Secretary, since this is a very interesting question and I believe it's been a trending topic also, no? We just like to call on, I think Yusek Annalyn Sevilla and Yusek Dad San Antonio would like to add some responses to this question. We can call on Yusek Ann first.
Thank you, Director Nina. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Magandang hapon, Secretary Liling. At sa mga media partners natin, it's a very trending question and issue, Bonds, and thank you for bringing it up. But we want to emphasize also na sana wag din natin sukatin ang talino ng kabataan ngayon based on trivia questions. Kasi we are using the 21st century skills. Ang 21st century skills ay critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. And yung mga tanong sa trivia question nung isang show na sinabi mo, I think partly may kasamang entertainment, but we are not blaming the program and also the students kasi nakikita namin meron ding nababash dahil dito sa show na ito. And yung tanong kasi na ano, sino, kailan, ay ang tawag namin dito ay mga memorization eh. It's also very good, no? It's part of the knowledge and the data that we should know. But I think tingnan din natin yung objective at saka yung sa show na mismo. I think it's part of the entertainment that they're doing. Pero para sa kabataan natin ngayon, ang tinuturo at USEC dads will be able to deal with this deeply is that hindi na po kami sa ano, sino at kailan. Ang mga tanong po ng mga guro ngayon ay paano, ipaliwanag, at i-perform. So halimbawa, kung ang tanong ay doon sa Baguio City, no, summer capital, sa eskwelahan ang tanong ngayon sa bata, ipaliwanag mo kung bakit naging summer capital ang Baguio City. Diyan, I think, kailangan talaga ng better communication, collaboration, creativity. And I think children nowadays, if you ask them, ba't ka pumupunta sa Baguio? And then you link, why is it summer capital? Then yun po yung maganda doon. Halimbawa rin, doon sa Gombursa, bakit sila nagarote? O bakit sila naging bayani? No? Yung mga ganyan pong mga pagtuturo ang ginagawa ngayon. At yun po yung in-explain ni Secretary rin kanina, that we really have to level up also the questioning. And I think marami po sa mga bata ngayon ay may mga tanong nga na mismo kami bilang magulang, parents, ay iba na rin yung level ng mga critical thinking nga kasi ang ating gustong i-push ngayon. But we also acknowledge the fact na tingnan din natin yung background ng mga ginagawa natin ng mga show. And of course, part of the entertainment din yan. And naging viral siya. But we take this opportunity to also explain na yung pong ating learning delivery now should focus not on memorization. For example, I would like to shift to PISA. PISA will not ask you questions about dates. PISA will not ask you about who or when or where. But the PISA questions, I'm talking about the international assessment, will ask you how you will apply all of these learnings. Thank you.
Okay, just to follow up on that po, siguro para na din sa question with you, Sec Dads. Okay, you mentioned that we have shifted to more on the how and whys of things. Pero these basics of these concepts like who at kung sino tong mga national heroes na to or kung sino tong mga events na to, di ba po dapat alam din to ng mga bata before they will delve into the why and hows of things.
Kaya ang sagot ko nga dyan, Bons, ewan ko. Kasi, hindi naman namin estudyante yung mga batang yan sa basic education. Nakikita mo naman.
Okay.
Oo. Tapos ngayon, pero tama lang naman na kami ang hinahanapan ng solusyon sa mga problema which were passed on to us how many years ago. Kasi watered down version tayo ng American ng education. Kasi dati sa American system of education, 8 years. Sa atin, reduce natin to 6 years. Tapos we had a policy during the war years na high school level, pwede na magturo and all that sort of thing. And now so you're asking us to produce the answers. And we are doing our best. Now, I quite agree that perhaps quiz contests are an indicator, but these are also entertainment shows where you laugh and you find the answers funny because the answers are ignorant. But I hope that you had the opportunity also to watch the awarding ceremonies for the outstanding young men. Yun,
I
hindi
was
yun din
there.
aming mga estudyanteng yon. 10 mga young people na hindi naman galing sa aming administration, hindi naman kami ang nagturo sa kanila. 3 ay teachers, 2 ay doktor, at saka ilan sa kanila nagre-research. Yung isa sociologist, may scientist, at ito ay produkto din ng ating sistema ng edukasyon. Hindi lamang ang produkto ng edukasyon natin ay makikita natin sa TV show, which has very high entertainment value. Nung nakita ko nga yan, tawa ako ng tawa eh. I found it amusing and everybody finds it amusing at the expense of the contestant or perhaps the schools that they went to. And also, as I was saying, I would like you to watch also the TOIM award ceremonies and talk to these young people who did not train under us, did not get our basic education under this administration. Listen to them speak. Listen to their ideas. Listen to their innovations. 1 is an inventor. 3 are teachers who really made daring innovations in teachings. 2 are doctors. 1 is a research person in the field of medicine. You have an inventor. You have a sociologist among the TOYMs. Sabihin natin, 10 lang yan. Eh, ilan naman yung nasa TV talk show? We should not fall into the trap of thinking that talk shows are the index of the quality of education or the quality of young people, the quality of the thinking of the young people that we have produced. And I would like to say, we did not train them kasi 6 years lang kami. But listen to them and be inspired. Some even, were moved to tears when they talked about their dreams for the country, what they have done, the sacrifices that they have made. Yes, we have those who do not know Gregorio del Pilar or who do not know Gomborsa, but we also have outstanding researchers in the field of various fields of medicine. We have sociologists who try to help us understand ourselves. We have teachers who make supreme sacrifices and make innovations different from the way, for example, I was taught. And so, yan ang challenge. And perhaps you can help us out. Talk shows are not the indicator only of the state of education in this country. Look at the OIM, look at 10 outstanding women, look at all the other things that a lot of young people have done. They were not trained by us, but we salute them and we recognize the kind of teaching, the kind of conduct that we have taught my predecessors. And we hope to continue that kind of tradition as well. To draw a conclusion from a talk show, perhaps, is very dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. And just to close this topic, Yusek Dads, would you like to add?
Actually, napaliwanag na ng gusto ni Ma'am at ni Yusek Ann. Gusto ko lang idagdag na kahit yung grading system natin, hindi naman kailangang 100% alam ng bata ang lahat ng tinuro para makapasa. At kahit naman sa mga board exams, bar exams, may mga hindi pumapasa. yung bang mga hindi pumapasa sila ang indicator ng quality? Parang unfair naman kung talagang DepEd lang ang pagpapaliwanag sa may mga ganitong pangyayari. Nag-agree po ako sa sinabi ni Ma'am na tama, tanungin kami, pero dapat kung bukas naman yung ating kaisipan, mag-isip tayo na yun na nga, hindi lahat ng may mali sa ating pamayanan, sa ating society ay kasalanan ng DepEd. Totoo po ito, nakumpisal ko yan sa pari when I was still a very passionate basic educator. Nakikita ko sa community namin, yung mga tinuruan ko, ang iba pasaway, hindi marunong mag-behave ng maayos. Sabi ko, ano bang kulang ko? Lahat naman sa klaseng tinuruan ko, naintindihan na ang ganyang behavior ay hindi tama. Bakit pag alis sa paaralan, hindi pa rin maganda yung kanyang behavior? Para lang malink na kahit ginawa natin yung ating lahat ng makakaya para maturuan yung mga bata, hindi pa rin tayo makakasiguro na yung mga naturo natin ay siya rin ay ma-retain at isasabuhay ng ating mga mag-aaral. Sabi ng pare, Dads, hindi naman teacher lang ang may kasalanan sa ganyan. Kailangan, syempre, kahit po yung mass media, na very crucial din yung role sa pag-educate ng ating mga kabataan, pag-enlighten sa mga bagay-bagay. Siguro po, ano rin yan, factor din. But I'm not actually pointing blames to others. Sinasabi ko, yes, tama na kami ay magpaliwanag. Kaya nga po nagpapaliwanag kami na tinuro naman yan, pero kung hindi natandaan, baka hindi naman fair na kasalanan ni DepEd. Thank you po.
Okay.
Kasi
Thank you. Yan.
si Joseph,
Yes, Secretary.
kanina pa nag-raise ng hand si Joseph Morong.
We can call Mr. Joseph Morong po I think he is on the queue, Secretary. So we'll call him in a bit po. We'll just follow our order of media partners who will be asking their questions. So we'd like to thank Sir Bons Magsambol for joining us and for raising the question. Yes po.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just send the other question na lang kasi I have to leave na din by 1 p.m. Medyo humaba pala yung discussion. Okay, thank you, Sec Briones and Yusek Tads and Yusek Ana.
Yan, maraming salamat. For the next question, we can call on Ms. Ara Perez of ABS-CBN.
Hi po, good afternoon.
Hi, Ara. I cannot see you. Where are you?
Hello po. Ito, kaka-on lang po ng camera.
I cannot
Sorry.
see you on the screen. Okay.
Thank you po. Ayun, good afternoon. Tatanong ko lang po, and to just clarify, kung meron po bang health insurance requirement for students going back to face-to-face classes for public and private schools? Natanong ko po kasi with CHED po and DOH memo, meron po palang requirement na gano'n na dapat registered sa PhilHealth or sa any private insurance company yung students na bumabalik sa face-to-face classes, and parang para sa students daw po for higher ed, nagiging burden yon para sa kanila na i-ensure pa nila na dapat meron silang health insurance. So sa basic ed po ba may ganung requirement? Thank you.
Siguro si Yusek ang makatulong sa pagsagot sa tanong na yan. Ang alam ko, ang teachers of course ay may insurance. At saka halimbawa ang properties natin are covered by insurance. So I'd like to know the details of insurance coverage for children. Although we have to bear in mind that right now we have 27 million learners, complaints or no complaints at all. And this coming school year, we expect 1 million more because usually by the millions yung pag-increase ng it's related, of course, to another government policy, which is also a subject of very strong debate. So si Yusek ang makatulong sa pagsagot. I'm not aware kung may insurance ang mga bata, but parents usually are encouraged. Sige, Yusek.
Yes, ma'am. Opo. I think the question is kung requirement na insured ang bata. Kasi may mga private schools na nagre-require, ma'am, na insured ang bata bago bumalik sa face-to-face. Tama ba, Ara?
Opo, ma'am. And with higher ed daw po, nasa memo kasi pala yun na kailangan talaga may PhilHealth sila or any private insurance.
Okay, ganito. Una muna sa teachers kasi yun yung covered namin. So may PhilHealth ang mga teachers. May GSIS din sila. So sa mga teachers, covered yan ng pondo ng DepEd. May employer share, may employee share. Okay, so okay tayo sa mga ating mga guro. But in terms of students, which is about 27 million, I think 22 million ang share ng public school, it's a big funding requirement. So wala pong insurance coverage ang mga estudyante. However, pag sila po ay member, registered ng Boy Scouts of the Philippines, Girl Scouts of the Philippines, Red Cross, ay meron po mga basic na insurance po dyan. We have been proposing for the insurance of our students and teachers, pero mabibigla po kayo sa requirement. No? So, sa dami po ng mga priorities ng gobyerno, lalo na ngayon may pandemya, isa po ito sa proposal namin na nasi-set aside. But we are proposing. Now, in terms of dun sa memo, I don't think we have that in the memo na kailangan na insured ang mga bata. But I need the help of USEC dads or maybe the field operation. Kasi ang private school po may sariling regulation. So sa amin po yung basic regulation. In our basic regulation, yun yung aming circular with DOH. Tulungan po kami ng aming team na kausap ng DOH. Wala po ako nakita na ganong requirement. Baka that is an additional requirement of the private school. So gusto ko rin confirm, Ara, yung bang nag-report sa iyo ay private school or public school?
Ano po, ma'am, may higher ed po sila sa kaya
CHED.
Private.
CHED,
Opo,
yes,
CHED. Kaya po tinatanong ko kung meron din with DepEd.
Okay. Ma'am, yun po yung sagot ko regarding the funding. PhilHealth, GSIS for our teachers, the students, Boy Scouts of the Philippines, Girl Scouts of the Philippines, and Red Cross. And the local government units are also helping us. So meron din po mga local government units na pinapa-insure yung ating mga estudyante. Pero alam naman po natin yung may kaya. Ibig sabihin, mga cities at saka municipalities na talagang merong pera para makover yon. Unfortunately, hindi po kaya para sa lahat ng mga pampublikong mag-aaral. Thank you.
Yeah po.
Yung issue na yan, Ara, pinag-iisipan yan, dinidebate yan, dahil siyempre may financial implications yan, na napaka-powerful na financial implication. Pero yung health services, required kasi na may school clinics tayo. At saka ang local governments, napakalaking tulong dahil the schools are located in their, kumbaga sa bahay nila, sa kanilang territory. So we go to them also for assistance. But ang malaking tulong talaga, of course, is the Department of Health. Kung may problema yung ating mga bata with their health and assistance, usually sila ang una namin tinatawagan together with the DILG. Also, of course, civil society comes in. Ang dami-daming because we love our children. And we don't want them to be harmed at all. They may or they may not have eventually insurance, but when they are they have health issues, they are really assisted. I have been involved in campaigns. There was a time in Negros Oriental when about 11 kids were met a very serious accident on the way to a math contest in Cebu. On the way. And the response of the private sector and the Department of Health was was magnificent. And so we have these alternative ways of helping our learners. At saka may clinic talaga, importante yan. Schools have to have as much as possible a school nurse or a doctor, and you have the public health also officers who are always around to be of help. Thank you.
Thank you po. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Ara Perez of ABS-CBN. And to proceed, Secretary, for our next question, this is to be read. Ang tanong po ay mula kay Ms. Janice Ingente ng UNTV. And the question is, ano po ang tugon natin sa mga guro na walang magamit na computer o laptop na bumalik ng pisikal sa eskwelahan?
Ewan ko, tinitingnan ko, hinahanap ko si Director Abram at saka si Yusek Alain. Ang binigyan na tayo sa klase, mayroon tayong mga computer laboratories. I know that dahil I have been to remote places na may mga labs, may library, and so on. May equipment mismo sa schools. And again, napakalaking tulong ang both civil society and the international community. May mga countries talagang nagdo-donate ng digital toys. Toys ang tawag nila dyan. I hope not literally na paglalaroan, but okay din paglalaroan yan, basta gagamitin din para sa school. This has to be done continuously. Ang isa ding problema ay of course connectivity. Yun ang problema because we have last mile schools, of course the concept of last mile schools. We pick out those who are the most needy na kailangang i-upgrade yung systems nila, kailangang bigyan sila ng laboratories, kailangang bigyan ng computers. But kung wala namang connectivity, then you also have to think of other ways. And this is why we have to resort to modular. And this is why also face-to-face is very, very important as a component of blended learning. So, ganun ang situation. Ang issue of computers is connected to connectivity, the entirety of the program of the government, the international community, civil society, and of course our own program. Ang ini-equip namin yung aming laboratories at saka siyempre yung mga bata. You have local government units. I will not mention them because some of these local government officials are candidates. They spent billions to distribute computers to learners and also to teachers. Private sector naman, they also do it. Ang ano lang namin, encourage lang namin ang private sector that when they make such generous donations, isama naman nila yung mga lugar na kasi the preference of course is to help the communities na pinakamalapit kung saan yung mga opisina, saan yung mga factory, kung saan yung mga plants. But how about those na walang masyadong economic activity? So they tend to be left out. So all this we are trying to face all at the same time. And this is why we are not giving up on blended learning as a policy, as an approach, where we make use not only of face-to-face or face-to-face, because we are not only an educational institution, we are an administrative organization handling 650 billion in budgets and handling salaries of a million employees, records of 27 million children, and so on. So we are also an administrative system which has to be updated. I dare not imagine a time, alam mo, kung halimbawa mag-miss out lang kami ng 1 linggo sa sweldo o lalo na 2 linggo, 1 buwan, subukan natin na hindi sisweldohan, hindi magkakasweldo ang ating mga tao o yung provident fund nila o yung mga loans hindi ma-process ka agad-agad. We will be committing administrative suicide. So this explains why we have to move as part of the government system as well. And we have to comply with government policies, even as we are the largest organization in public administration, with 650 billion in resources, for which we are accountable, and for which we have to spend very, very carefully and report also to the public as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. At para sa mga detalye at karagdagang impormasyon ukol sa mga programa at mga ginagawa po natin upang matugunan ang kakulangan ng laptop o computers at pati na rin po sa internet connectivity, maaari po nating isumite na lang ating sagot via Viber mula sa ating ICTS at sa ating admin strand. Ayan, maraming pong salamat UNTV sa inyong katanungan. And for our last question po, let me call on Joseph Morong ng GMA News.
Hi, Joseph.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Well,
Pag na
it's
magbasa
part
masyado
of the-
ng Twitter, ha?
that's part of the package.
Don't read too much, Stockmed. Anyway, ma'am, dun po muna sa on-site, yung back to work order, no? When it was drawn up po, yung memorandum na yon, did it contemplate yung scenario na things would be a lot better such that when you ask the teachers to go back, kasama na rin yung maraming mga estudyante?
Yes, yun ang gusto namin. Kasi kung halimbawa level 1 and 2 na ang isang lugar, ang policy namin is we implement face-to-face learning as soon as possible. Kasi na-identify na namin yung mayroon na kaming long list, mayroon ding short list, and also we adjust to 1 or 2. Hindi naman karamihan. No? There are also local governments who change their minds in relation to real situations in their places na primero gusto nila and then sasabihin nila wag na because we have security problems or whatever. So ganon.
Kasi ma'am, parang po yung mga lumabas na mga litrato yesterday, no? Yun po mga teachers na sa eskwelahan, yung pong mga bata ay nasa mga bahay nila at nag-online po yung mga teachers alone dun sa kanilang mga estudyante. This is a scenario that we were contemplating and thinking when we issued yung Memorandum 29.
Kasi sinabi ko na kanina na ang propesyon ng pagtuturo, hindi lamang yung tinuturuan mo ang bata, no? Na nagli-lecture kayo, the fountain of wisdom and of knowledge, etc. There are many other activities that take place in a school which enrich the capacity of a teacher. For example, we are in the process of transforming the National Educators Academy. Kasi sasabihin natin na we try to teach our children creative thinking. Then, ang nagtatransmit niyang ganong klaseng perspective would be the teachers, no? I like always to quote my favorite scientist na wherever there is sabi nga niya, he has passed on already. Sinabi niya na wherever you have a brilliant student, you can be sure there's also a brilliant and a very, very good teacher. So, ayan, we are focusing on that, no? So, may mga paperwork din sila na kailangan nilang gagawin. And it's good for them naman to see each other's face. Gusto natin, hindi lamang ang estudyante ang mag-face to face, but also the teachers mag-face to face din sila. Because there is so much going on. There's so much excitement in education. We look forward to, I mean, I can speak the whole day about education futures.
Ma'am.
And these are very, very interesting things aside, of course, from doing a little business on the side and so on. They cry on each other's shoulders. They share the good news and the bad news and all that. May function naman yung pagpasok na teacher.
Correct.
Kasi ang demand, alam mo, Joseph, noon, sigaw ang sigaw ng bayan, face to face, face to face. Ngayon, mag face to face tayo, sabihin natin sa teacher, Hindi kailangan mag face to face kayo. So and besides, as I said, we are an administrative institution. And I know that for a fact. I sit on, I work 7 hours, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
I know that po.
Anytime anything happens all over the region, I would know. And that is part of the being an educator.
Correct. Ma'am,
Yeah.
hindi po kaya may flexibility, because I get po yung socialization and administration aspect of teaching, no, of being a teacher. Pero ma'am, in certain situations na parang mas nahihirapan yung teacher to conduct an online class, meron po bang flexibility, maybe the administration ng school or yung memo number 29 mismo, na may allow, under certain circumstances, yung mga teachers to conduct yung classes nila as they used to, maybe sa bahay nila na where there's a better connection, or talagang dapat po talaga lumabas sila sa kanilang mga bahay and go to the school. That will just be my... Tapos ma'am, may ni-raise lang na question, I wasn't able to get the answer. So that's the first. And second, paano nga po yung bumili na ng mga desktop computers nila at ginagamit na lang sa mga bahay, and now they're being asked to go back. So flexibility under 29, and number 2, yun mga specific problems like nakapangutang na ng desktop yung teacher, biglang babalik, and then the teacher doesn't have that in the school.
Una, yung sinasabi niyo yung flexibility. Paulit-ulit yan, every week nagbi-meet ang MANCOM at ang aming EXICOM. Sinasabi namin, pag may problema kayo, don't run to the central office for detailed instructions, because no circular, no matter how brilliant, no matter how beautifully written. You know, Joseph, we once had a vice president in UP, was a poet, and reading his memo was such a joy because he was a poet. He would write memos in the form of poems and very beautiful language. But then, not everybody is a poet, the ones who write. So sabi namin, don't run to us because the papers go back and forth. You find a solution yourself, and then you let us know if it works. If it works, who are we to interrupt a good thing? No? And besides, sabi ko, crucial yon. And sometimes we have debates with also my other colleagues in government na para sa akin, ang bottom line really is the health issue. Oo. Is it going to be safe? Is it allowable? Kasi pag level 3 ka na, we will not insist that the teachers report. Now, as to the desktops, alam mo yun, they can cast that everywhere they want to go.
Mamang hirap nun, ha?
Nung panahon ko, yung computer, isang kwarto. When I was treasurer, yung computer system natin, isang kwarto may security guard na sarili. Pero these things are very convenient. Siyempre, magagamit din nila yon. But useful din yung pagpasok nila. At saka kung halimbawa talagang kailangan that they have to stay at home, and that is the responsibility and the accountability of the principal and then the supervisor, and kung anong decision nila. Let us know if it works. If it works, why should we stop a good thing which is happening? But we know what is happening. Joseph, if I work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, I would really have an idea what is happening. And I call my people at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, midnight, and they know that. And I hope they do not resent me for calling them if anything happens. But if things are doing well, then they share it with us. And you know, in government, we amend the regulations. We seek for amendments. We seek for changes if these are necessary. And
Okay.
if things
Ma'am,
work.
Ma'am?
I think si Yusek Anto may sasabihin din.
Ma'am, para tungkol lang dun sa regulation, Joseph, kasi we
Yes, ma'am.
understand you eh. Meron naman talagang flexible learning option na sinasabi or work arrangement na sinasabi. Unfortunately, our teachers, yes, ma'am, our teachers are government workers as well. And as a government agency, isa lang po ang nag-release ng aming HR policy, Civil Service Commission. And the Civil Service Commission has rules on time in and time out. If they will not do that, makukuha po kami. Ma-audit kami sa pagpapasweldo sa mga empleyado ng gobyerno na walang time in at time out. During the time na mataas ang lockdowns and ECQ,
yes, ma'am.
Civil Service Commission issued the policy. However, binawi na po yan. And the executive order, ibig sabihin po ng executive order, all government agencies are compelled to work physically 100%. Unless that is changed, I don't think we can have that flexibility that we can give to our teachers. Unless na po na magiging flexible din ang ating COA, Commission on Audit. Because when we process the salary, finance ako, Joseph, pag pinrocess ang salary at wala kang daily time record, hindi ka namin papasweldohin. That's one thing that we need to check with Civil Service Commission and the executive order na nagsabi po na 100% na ang workforce kapag alert level 1. Pero pag nag-iba ng alert level, balik po tayo sa alternative work arrangement. Yun po yung ating titingnan ngayon. Thank you po. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, last question na lang.
Making the clarification. Kasi akala kasi natin, whatever we decide applies to everyone. But we are in a pandemic, and the Department of Health has gives us advice kung alert level, kung ano siya, level 1 or level 2 or level 3. So mayroong detalyeng instructions diyan. And of course, local governments need to have a say as well, because if we have problems, we also run to them for assistance. At saka nasa bahay nila kami. Hindi naman pwedeng we will do what we wish na sa bahay nila o sa property nila. At talagang pinag-iinteresan nila education.
Just a little bit on this topic. So, ibig po sabihin ng i-defer ko na answer ng DepEd will be Yusek Ans, no? In the sense that there is a CSC ruling, CSC order, and without it, hindi kayo pwede mabayaran. No? Yun po yung gagamitin ko na soundbite.
Yeah, we have issued a press statement on that, and we have stated that several times. And then you also have the IATF regulation.
Okay po.
And also the instructions of the executive department. And as I said, we are an administrative institution as well. If you have a 650 billion budget and over 1 million people, sabi nga nila, I'm like a mother hen sitting on 650 million eggs. And everybody wants to make sundot-sundot at the eggs dahil it's very interesting and so on. So we have our accountabilities. We are not like private sector. Private sector are ruled by the policies of their own boards. Pero kami, we are ruled by national policy. And that is something teachers have to teach their students as well. Now we are part of a public administration system.
Ma'am, last na lang.
Sige. Ay, maski hanggang bukas gising na ako.
We still need to write.
I wake up.
We still need to write. Ma'am, okay. Doon po sa opening ng classes, August, you said 22 ba? 22. And then mentioned po kanina is that blended pa rin, but there will be more face-to-face classes. Now, in terms of statistics po, when we open on August 22, how many schools po will be participating in face-to-face classes versus the current number that we have?
Sandalihan, nandiyan ba si Malcolm? Kasi we have the latest number as up to today pa nga eh. Kung wala, it's not available now. That's mayroon bang number sa iyo? Kasi minomonitor namin talaga yan eh. from the time we declared the opening of face-to-face to on a daily basis, lalo na sa NCR, Joseph, kasi
Opo, ma'am.
critical nerve center kasi ang NCR ng ating bayan. Mayroon kang numbers dyan or we can forward to Joseph.
Wala po akong numbers, pero yung tanong ni Joseph is, ang intention ba natin marami na sa opening sa susunod
Yes,
na
sir.
pasok?
Yes, sir.
We will very hard. Parang hindi naman tayong dependent sa alert level categories. Pero alam ko, ang instruction talaga ni Ma'am Diling, yung mga pwede na, gawin na. So yung progressive expansion ng face-to-face talaga, even as we are doing it now, sabi nga ni Ma'am, araw-araw nagdadagdag at may mga divisions na nagsasabi. Ang alam ko, halimbawa, yung DepEd Camarines Norte, may nag-monitor doon na mga galing sa team ko. Lahat ng schools nagsimula ngayong week na ito ay mayroon na silang face-to-face, although hindi pa lahat ng grades. So, kasama ito sa sinasabi ni Ma'am na hindi naman kailangan palaging nagpapaalam sa central office para magawa nila yung mga bagay na alam naman nila na dapat gawin. So, kami, siyempre, ang preference namin, makapagbukas lahat, but we will always be very mindful of the alert levels and yung mga preparations din ng mga paaralan para makapag F2F na sila. Siyempre, narinig ko na rin na talagang preference namin more F2F pero blended. About 2 days or 3 days a week, tapos yung other days home-based learning pa rin.
Okay. So tama po ba 42,000 yung schools natin today? Right now? 42,000. Tama ba?
40 sadali ha. 47.
Anyway, sa graphics po. So, ilang percentage po dun sa 40+ thousand schools nationwide will be able to participate in F2F come opening on August 22? Ilang percentage, sir? Mga, ano ba to? 50%? 60%?
Right now, on a daily basis, schools are indicating their interest. Local governments are indicating their interest. Day to day, nagbabago yung numbers. We will forward the latest numbers to you. Ang baseline data natin is March. Yun ang hiningi ng NEDA. Kasi minomonitor din nila dahil NEDA is very anxious about the contributions of education. Alam nila na paggagalaw ng education, then malaking bagay yan para sa economy in so many ways. Also, ako naman ngayon ang magpahabol. Ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize na yung ating ideas, ating passion about face-to-face is going to be different from the face-to-face that we are used to. Na yung teacher 6 hours nakaharap sa atin o 6 hours every day ang bata na sa school. Lahat na eskwelahan, lahat ng mga bansa na pinag-aaralan namin. Kahapon lamang kausap ko ang Minister of Education sa Singapore. Hindi naman araw-araw nag-face-to-face sila. As a matter of fact, ang kailangan talagang face-to-face is yung nangangailangan ng supervision ng teacher, saka yung teacher ang mag-i-explain. Kasi ang role kasi ngayon ng teacher, Joseph, pinakagaya ng role ng teacher natin. Na lahat alam ng teacher, lahat sinasabi ng teacher. Ngayon, ang teacher is maybe a team leader, a fellow searcher, a fellow traveler. Hindi na yung lahat-lahat manggagaling sa teacher. We learn together. So even in the countries that we admire so much, because of the record of being first in face-to-face, always say na hindi naman it's not face-to-face is not the kind of face-to-face that we are, as I said, used to. But it plays great importance on teacher training. Ito yung ating challenge because the pre-entry of a teacher, bago siya his or her training as a teacher is under another institution, no? A set of the mga private schools, public schools, sila ang nagde-determine yan. Sila ang rene-regulate ng another institution. So yung pre-entry nila, we are not playing a very crucial role, unlike the other countries whom we so admire. Kasi nangyari yung trifocalization at the time na Thailand was doing it, Singapore did it also, nag-trifocalize sila, Malaysia, Indonesia did it. But most of them are back to a single ministry overseeing ang Singapore. Siya ang nag-chair ng board ng kanilang Institute of Training for Teachers. Even the recruitment side for teachers. Lahat na aspeto, but then of course we cannot say that we should be like Singapore because Singapore is a small relative to us, and it is highly admired for its successful policies. So perish the thought, Joseph, that our face-to-face is like going to be the face-to-face that we are demanding na yung teacher nakaharap palagi. So there will be time for teachers to meet, to exchange views, perhaps time to read, and to have time to discuss what is new, what is the world that our learners are going to be confronted with. And ang learners natin, sa experience ko, ako nagiging aktivista ako, and it's known that I'm an activist. College na ako. Ngayon, high school level, Joseph, I have talked with chairs of student council at the high school level, very articulate, very demanding, and napakataas ng expectations. So we have to listen to them as well, in addition to listening to our teachers. Kasi we spend 1/3 of our resources go to salaries of our staff, and that includes our teachers.
Okay.
Malaki talaga. But we have to spend our time also for the learners. And how our teachers are going to be more effective. Ang teacher ngayon ay hindi na teacher, parang leader, team researcher, raiser of questions, and so on. Iba na talaga kaysa nasanayan ko. And perhaps that would be a good thing as well. So, but what bothers me, and I might as well say it, is all this finger pointing, which is well, maybe it is also the season. It's the time of the year when finger pointing is justifiable. But and also drawing conclusions from a specific incident or a specific aspect, and drawing a huge global conclusion on, for example, the state of education, etc., based on very limited information.
Okay.
Kasi, naka-chance ako, buti na lang, nagtanong ka.
I don't want to keep you, because I know you're a very busy person and you're undersecretary. So thank you for your time, and it's nice meeting you again.
Thank you. Anytime you will send you the latest data.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you po. I will ask.
It's up to date.
Opo.
Sige, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Secretary, just with your indulgence po, just to provide clarity on the question earlier on DM 29, I think Mr. Morong was referring to item number 11 of the said DM. So actually po, we allow remote and flexible work arrangements just as long as, again, as Yusek Ann has stated earlier, it must be under and must be compliant with CSC MC number 18 series of 2020 and our DepEd order number 11 series of 2020 as well. So it may be adopted and as deemed appropriate and insofar practicable, but it has to be in accordance as well with the required on-site capacity depending on the prevailing COVID-19 alert level in the locality where the school or the office is located. And also, yes.
Lang, ma'am. So, the soundbite of USEC Ann. So, ang sinabi niyo po ngayon is that may flexibility but that will only attach to maybe levels 2, 3, and 4, 5, no?
Right, because for alert level 1, it's 100% on-site.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, just to add, yung decision on the implementation of, I think this is quite a controversy, yung decision on the implementation of DM29, we believe that this has been really carefully thought about, and it was never a mere compliance to higher authority. No, the decision was actually reached at the level of a management committee level meeting. As the secretary has said earlier, we conduct our weekly meetings, and present in this meeting, of course, was our regional directors, and we believe that they represent the voice of our division offices and our schools. So, and if you would remember, the issuance of the IATF was way back February 27. The issuance of OP was way back in February 28. So we believe with this time frame, it should have given ample time also and triggered preparations in our field offices. So we just mandated the strict implementation this April 18. And we have never failed naman to remind also our school heads through our third level officials that we have to ensure the provision of the necessary resources. Example is the internet connectivity, of course, for the unhampered delivery of services of our teaching and non-teaching personnel. And rest assured, also in the future, for our other issuances, we will remain considerate of the all possible areas of concern, especially those that might greatly affect our teachers and our learners. So yun. And yes, I believe, Secretary, that wraps up our press conference. We'd like to give you the time if you would like to give a final message.
Wala na. Each press conference that we hold, because we hold them in different regions, with various regions sponsoring them, there are always very interesting issues that are brought up. And I believe that this is an effective mechanism holding regional press conferences. You will notice that feedback from the regions is not the various feedbacks are not as lacking in information as in other places, and this is because we have them regularly. And we inform not only the national media, but regional media as well. And so thank you for attending this time of information for all of us. So we're doing our best, but we are not, well, I will not say anymore, Joseph. I have said more than enough.
Thank you very much, Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones. Maraming salamat din po sa lahat ng mga opisyal ng Kagawaran na nakasama natin sa araw na ito. USEC Tostado San Antonio, USEC Annalyn Sevilla, Director Neil Daco, and Director Lopez Santos III. Dito nga po nagwawakas ang ating press conference. Maraming salamat sa mga kasamahan sa media na naging bahagi ng talakayan at sa ating mga partner channels. Ako po muli si Nina Bianca Sanglay mula sa Office of the Secretary at Bureau of Human Resource and Organizational Development. Sa ngalan po ng tuloy-tuloy na paghubog sa mga kabataan, naway tayo'y magkaisa upang mas mapalakas pa ang aksyon at solusyon para sa edukasyon. Para sa bata at para sa bayan. Ito ang EduAKSYON, Aksyon at Solusyon para sa Edukasyon, the virtual press conference.